chaos, James Hewitt storms Buckingham Palace claiming paternity over Prince Harry, leaving King Charles gobsmacked. Absolute pandemonium erupted within the hallowed walls of Buckingham Palace earlier today when notorious royal fuckboy James Hewitt brazenly barged onto palace grounds loudly proclaiming his paternity over Prince Harry while demanding an immediate DNA test from a visibly shaken King Charles III. The shocking scenes completely upended the monarch's scheduled agenda as his raving former military instructor caused a full-blown national security disruption in the heart of London. Jesus H. Christ. Talk about explosive family drama hitting literally where the Queen once lived. This unseemly incident represents an utter embarrassment for the Crown at a time we could scarcely afford any more PR nightmares tarnishing the royal image, exclaimed former palace butler Paul Burrell, summarizing the catastrophic damage control spectacle currently unfolding. Just when you thought the prince's relationship reckoning revealed maximum cringe-worthy indiscretions to the public, James Hewitt suddenly rewrites the entire narrative in unbelievably tawdry fashion. According to multiple eyewitness accounts, the 64-year-old disgraced former Life Guards officer somehow slipped past initial outer security perimeters before bolting through the palace's iconic front entrance around 10 a.m. this morning. At that point, a flustered Hewitt began loudly ranting through the grand foyer demanding an audience with His Royal Majesty for reasons that immediately became apparent as bewildered staff looked on in shock and horror. I have finally obtained conclusive DNA evidence confirming Prince Harry has been my son all along, Your Majesty. You and the rest of the bloody royal pawns can no longer keep dismissing me with your lies and cover-ups about Lady Di's pregnancy timeframes, shouted the ginger interloper in the general direction of Charles while throngs of security rushed ineffectually to subdue him. Destiny has finally arrived, liberating my child from underneath you vile inbred's regimes of secrecy and injustice imprisoning us apart. At first, royal staffers struggled restraining Hewitt's aggressive outbursts as his verbal assaults began intensifying in vulgar profanity until British Army infantry reinforcements arrived providing tactical backup. The unfolding brouhaha saw dozens of soldiers clad in full riot gear flooding arrival halls, transporting the still-defiant former cavalrymen into holding cells beneath the palace awaiting further interrogation alongside explosive materials teams and counter-terror investigators rapidly securing all areas, ensuring no credible threats remained. While it remains unclear how this mentally disturbed individual managed breaching multiple layers of maximum fortification, let me be unambiguously clear. Hewitt's deranged delusions about Duke Henry's parentage remain a complete and utter fabrication with indisputable scientific data rendering his claims medically impossible, stated royal spokesman Giles St. Eccleston, issuing an official palace statement later that afternoon. Under no circumstances will His Majesty entertain enabling such bald-faced charlatans indulge their perverse agenda, dragging the Crown's dignity through sick mud further than certain bad actors have already succeeded. Eccleston further referenced firm disciplinary actions targeting derelict staffers, whose staggering lapses in security protocol resulted in today's humiliations, while making clear Hewitt faces maximum applicable criminal trespassing charges alongside any other potential counts identified through subsequent investigations. The spokesman declined providing additional circumstantial details, citing national security priorities protecting the integrity of ongoing judicial processes. However, that decidedly hardline position disavowing Hewitt completely contradicts a steady drumbeat of long-standing rumors and revisionist histories about Prince Harry's biological genesis spanning decades since Princess Diana's fateful passing. While far from confirmed, the red-headed third-in-line for the Crown's controversial reputation fueled widespread palace gossip and salacious innuendo alleging Diana's former covert lover Hewitt constituted Harry's real father, created through a steamy extramarital liaison. Those spectacularly raunchy speculations further spiked in recent months after the estranged prince's bombshell memoir, Spare, implicated their once-fraught relationship, enduring paternity doubts dismissed by Charles himself. I'll be perfectly frank, it's been an open secret among staff here that Prince Harry probably hadn't descended from Charles's bloodline despite their resemblance, confided one anonymous royal courtier, providing perspective about today's events. Most of us chalked it up to typical Randy entitlement back when Diana fooled around with her rugged red-headed hunk of a fling partner James Hewitt. If you look closely in those old photos, the hereditary stamped-on similarities are simply too alike to ignore. Major Hewitt himself has long stoked the simmering scandal through insinuating interviews and written passages from his highly publicized 1995 memoir, Princess in Love, relishing gory kissing and telling details about his 5-year steamy dalliance with the princess from 1986 to 1991. In particular, the book recounts their first, passionate, rendezvous in 1986 where Diana supposedly gushed about preferring athletic redheads over her husband's blandness in the bedroom. That night of primal unrestrained lust culminated 9 months later with Harry's premature July 1984 birth, well within the window of biological plausibility. Those dates alone have single-handedly fueled rumors for over 30 years about me possibly being the real father based on Harry's conspicuous red hair and feistier temperament, Hewitt told interviewers following Spare's headline-grabbing revelations earlier in 2023. Even private letters from the late princess hinted my cavalryman lifestyle absolutely entranced, bewitching her away from her miserable arranged marriage, implying her deepest romantic and sexual fulfillments could only come through me, wink wink. Naturally, both Buckingham Palace and Harry himself have strenuously rejected Hewitt's longtime insinuations. Specifically, they've weaponized various photographic timelines and first-hand testimonies demonstrating Diana never actually got intimate with the former household cavalryman until after Harry's 1984 birth, debunking any mathematical possibility of a biological paternity connection. Harry has also dismissed the entire narrative as unseemly fiction specifically tailored tormenting his psyche through cynical clickbait manufacturing more tabloid cash. Of course, sowing such depraved deception surrounding my childhood represents the exact sort of sadistic media toxicity destroying my parents while deeply scarring me with identity crises over fundamental existential planes, fumed Harry, addressing the Hewitt affair in an unaired podcast interview documented by royal experts at his UK publisher's Penguin Random House. At my core, it illustrates how those in power constantly abuse inflicting maximum psychological damage against the most defenseless, especially vulnerable children, simply because they can capitalize, ruthlessly exploiting every ounce of our trauma.